What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, two-time world champion, retired superstar boxer, Paulie the Magic Man Malignaggi. He weighs in and gives his thoughts on his highly anticipated trilogy showdown between four-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, who's currently the undisputed reigning super middleweight world champion, widely considered by many to be top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, and the face of the sport of boxing in Saul Canelo Alvarez. 57 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 39 big wins by way of knockout. Canelo Alvarez is 32 years of age, okay? Canelo Alvarez, obviously, he's coming off of a shocking loss in which Canelo Alvarez, he was dominated in a fight against now undefeated WBA light heavyweight world champion Russian superstar boxer DMITRY Bivol. So Canelo Alvarez in his last fight, he for a second time looked to become a world champion at light heavyweight, and he lost to DMITRY Bivol, losing every single round to DMITRY Bivol. Maybe, you give Canelo Alvarez 2 or 3 rounds, okay, if you want to be generous. But he was outclassed in the fight against DMITRY Bivol, okay? A lot of people use weight classes as a reasoning as to why Canelo Alvarez was too small. Well, Canelo Alvarez already beat the WBO light heavyweight world champion, Russian superstar boxer Sergey Crusher Kovalev, okay? So now Canelo Alvarez is going to face his biggest rival for a 3rd time in a trilogy against former 2-time unified middleweight world champion superstar boxer GENNADY Triple G Golovkin. GENNADY Triple G Golovkin, 42 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 37 wins by way of knockout. He's 40 years of age, 5'10", with a 70-inch arm reach. Okay, this upcoming Saturday, they're gonna face off against one another. Okay, again, Canelo Alvarez is coming off of a loss, to DMITRY Bivol. GENNADY Golovkin, in the other hand, DMITRY Bivol, is now 20 wins, no losses, no draws. Okay, DMITRY Bivol is also 32 years of age, 5 foot. He's 6 feet tall with a 72-inch arm reach. 20 wins, no losses, no draw, 11 wins by way of knockout. So he's not the biggest guy. Okay, he's not like he's massive. He's 6 feet tall with a 72-inch arm reach. Okay, Canelo Alvarez has faced guys bigger than him in Sergey Kovalev, Caleb Smith. Caleb Plant is actually 6'1" with a 74-inch arm reach. So he's faced guys that were bigger than DMITRY Bivol. It wasn't size that beat Canelo Alvarez, it was skill. Well, now he's going into this trilogy match against GENNADY Triple G Golovkin. The first 2 fights, first fight ended in a draw. Many people thought Canelo Alvarez lost. The second fight ended in Canelo Alvarez being the victor, in which there's 50% of people thought he lost that fight, okay? So they fought twice already. Close competitive fights. I don't think it was a robbery either which way. I actually thought Canelo Alvarez won the second fight. But what's interesting here is to note is that Paulie Malignaggi, he feels like Canelo Alvarez in his last fight. I stated this yesterday on my live stream. You could go check that out. I stated that Canelo Alvarez, the pressure's on Canelo Alvarez, right? He got to put up now, okay? If Canelo Alvarez loses this fight to Triple G, who looked vulnerable. Triple G in his last couple of fights, his last fight against Ryota Murata, he looked vulnerable. Sergey Derevyanchenko, he looked vulnerable. Zermata don't count, but he should have got him out of there faster than he did. And Steve Rolls, right? He hasn't looked great since losing his last fight to Canelo Alvarez. He's looked okay. So they last fought in, I believe it's 2018, and he didn't look great. Okay, he looked okay in his last couple of fights. And he looked very vulnerable against Sergey Derevyanchenko. I thought he lost that fight, but just didn't get the Sergey didn't give it the nod. And the Ryota Murata fight, he was losing that fight until Murata ran out of gas in the second half. But he looked vulnerable to the body. So with that said, this is a fight that Canelo Alvarez should be able to make a statement. I am picking Canelo Alvarez by stoppage, by stoppage victory, right? He's 32. Triple G is 40 years of age, right? Triple G has looked very vulnerable in his fights. Canelo lost to DMITRY Bivol, but he didn't look vulnerable. He just looked outskilled and outclassed. Physically, Triple G looks like he's physically not the same guy anymore. And I feel like Canelo Alvarez needs to make a statement. It don't need to be a close fight. It don't need to be controversial. You know, it needs to be a statement made. Or if he loses, his brand and his career is getting ready to take a massive step back. Okay, it's the end of that era. 2 straight losses, and you already had a loss to Floyd Mayweather where you lost every single round to Floyd Mayweather and outclassed. You know, controversial wins over Erislandy Lara, in which I thought that Lara won the fight, and many people thought Lara won the fight. That don't bode well for Canelo Alvarez in his career with a loss to Triple G at this stage of Triple G's career. But interestingly, Paulie Malignaggi feels like Canelo Alvarez packed it in against DMITRY Bivol. Okay, he says that he didn't look to make adjustments. He didn't try hard. He was okay with the outcome, and he just took his paycheck and went home, right? So Paulie just thinks that, you know, he felt like he couldn't, you know, compete. It got to a point of frustration. He couldn't compete, and he didn't go hard. He just went with the flow, took his L, took the massive paycheck that he got, and went home, right? That's an interesting take, because I never viewed it that way. I thought that Canelo Alvarez was just outskilled, just didn't have the physical gifts and talents to be able to make the adjustments to, you know, compete with DMITRY Bivol at that stage. I just thought that he was just outclassed. Okay, it was just a skill level above his, right? And that he always struggled with pure boxers, and especially with movement, right? But he feel like he just packed it in. I don't know what adjustments he could have made, but let's listen to what Paulie Malignaggi had to say regarding this Canelo Alvarez Bivol fight and what he thinks about Triple G moving forward. Paulie Malignaggi's never short on words. Let's just get that straight.
You know, the stage is set for Canelo to really make a real statement with this fight. You know, I think he's getting Golovkin at the right time. And also... So that's what I was just saying, that Canelo Alvarez has to make a statement against, you know, Triple G, right? Because the stages of their career, again, Triple G looked vulnerable in his last fight, right? Canelo Alvarez is still fresher. He's still, you know, very, very much so effective. Triple G looked vulnerable to the body. Time and age is definitely caught up to him, right? And I feel like Canelo Alvarez need to make a statement. It's going to be it's disappointing. Coming off the loss to Bivol, people are going to be wondering how he rebounds. Yeah. You know, we're talking about a lot of the talk about this fight has been about the rivalry with Golovkin and the first 2 fights with Golovkin, and how does Canelo close the rivalry. But, you know, we seem to sometimes overlook the fact that Canelo is coming off of a loss. And then, you know what?
And that's, you know, a lot to do with the fact that, you know, Canelo Alvarez is, you know, viewed as the face of the sport of boxing. So because Canelo Alvarez is viewed as the face of the sport of boxing, it gets overlooked, right? You know, the fact that, you know, he's coming off this loss, everybody uses size as a reasoning. Well, it's an excuse, a built-in excuse as to why he lost. He lost to Bivol because he's just undersized. So that's why. It's not the fact that we're just focusing on the first 2 fights that took place between Canelo and Triple G. It's a lot to do with the fact that people like to have built-in excuses as to why he lost, aside from the fact that he was just outskilled, period.
It wasn't just a loss. It was, there's some things you can take out of that loss. He seemed to accept defeat very, very easily in that fight. Never really put himself...
So you see, he said that Canelo Alvarez accepted defeat in the fight pretty easy. He said very, very easily. And I said this when I called the fight, because I called the fight, and in that fight, I stated that, you know, Canelo Alvarez was getting frustrated. He was getting frustrated in his fight with Caleb Plant. Okay, if you look at the fight with Caleb Plant in the first 5 rounds, he was showing frustrations in that fight. And he admitted after that fight that he was very, very frustrated, but he had to stay patient. The difference is Canelo Alvarez knew that Caleb Plant was probably going to fade in the second half, and he would eventually catch up to Caleb Plant. And DMITRY Bivol was not going to fade in the second half of the fight.
On the line, and when things weren't going his way, not only wasn't he able to make an adjustment, which sometimes can happen ability-wise, but he didn't even make an effort to make the adjustment. He just took his check and went home and never even put himself on the line at all. So it started.
So you see, he said he didn't even make an effort, you know, to make an adjustment. And I disagree, because I think that he knows his limitations. Physically, he can make an adjustment to counter what DMITRY Bivol was doing, because he's physically limited. DMITRY Bivol had quicker feet, longer arms, just as high as the ring IQ, equal amount of power, accurate with his punches, but his foot placement was better than Canelo, and his foot speed and his natural athletic abilities is better than Canelo Alvarez. But let's listen to what Paulie had to say. So I don't think that he immediately packed it in, but I do see that he was definitely frustrated immediately, and he knew that he was, you know, up against it, right? And again, if he was frustrated in the beginning, it had nothing to do with his size. It had everything to do with his skills. So everybody's talking about the size difference and him daring to be great. No, it had everything to do with skill.
Ability-wise, but he didn't even make an effort to make the adjustment. He just took his check and went home and never even put himself on the line at all. So it starts to make you also wonder, are we going to see a hungry Canelo who is really chomping at the bit to make the wrongs right? Listen, we all have our wrongs. You know, it's hard to retire undefeated in this sport, right? So I think Canelo is definitely hungry. I don't think that, you know, his motivation wavered, because he's dedicated, committed to the sport of boxing 1,000%. I think that Canelo Alvarez truly, truly lives by the mantra that he sets out there, no boxing, no life. I think that he truly, truly stands by that. He truly, truly lives by that. I just think that physically he's limited. He knew he was, you know, outmatched physically, and was somebody that just was as much as skilled and talented as he was. See, he's used to being in a ring with guys that he's physically may not have the same athletic gifts, and he's up against it, but he knows he has a higher ring IQ. He can put them in a position where he can have success and they're going to fail. But when he's in the ring with certain guys like Floyd Mayweather, Erislandy Lara, DMITRY Bivol, guys like that, and even Triple G to a certain degree, right? He knows that they're not going to waver in the second half, right? So it's an uphill battle for him. I don't believe he, you know, is not hungry and not motivated, though. But when you have a chance to right those wrongs, do you show the motivation and the know-how to do that? I think there's a question mark about, you know, wondering how much motivation, how determined Canelo is going to be to make a statement, not just.
Well, I don't believe it's how much motivation that he has. I think it's boiling down to, you know, the pressure he has to, because he's been in the ring with Triple G for 24 rounds now. He knows what to expect. Triple G's power, ring IQ, you know, he knows what to expect. There's pressure for him to close the show and look great. He must look great in this fight. He must close the show, right? Because at this stage of your career and his career, you seem to be a level above. You done fought at 168, 175, became undisputed. Triple G has never fought above 160 or below 160. He's a career 60-pounder. So the pressure is on Canelo Alvarez mentally to make it happen. I don't know about the hunger part and the motivation, but there's definitely pressure on him.
At closing this rivalry, but also to show people that he is hungry. He still wants to stay at the top, and the Bivol loss was, you know, a one-off.
So he's saying that the Bivol fight was a, you know, he wants to show that the DMITRY Bivol fight was just a one-off. It was a fluke, right? It was just a situation that happened. No, you can't say that, Paulie, because he already showed that flaw against Erislandy Lara. He was already dominated by Floyd Mayweather. So it's nowhere near a one-off, and he struggled. And even Paulie in this sit-down interview Paulie stated that he thought Triple G clearly won the first fight. So it can't be a one-off, because if he clearly lost the first fight to Triple G, and then he clearly lost to Floyd Mayweather, and he clearly lost to Bivol, well, it ain't a one-off. Period. So the pressure is on. That's what it's about. It's not about his motivation and hunger. It's about the pressure, and is he going to falter under this pressure? Period. To prove that he is still at the top. Like you say, his hunger to stay at the top? No, it's not the hunger. It's the pressure. Is he going to fold under that pressure? Period. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out on Saturday. And that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Bro. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.